Ah, yes, the question jerk. Matt and Neek back. Time to answer the question, Dominic Foxworth. You get this, but you can't say next question because you have to answer it for the television show. Should Pittsburgh stick with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback?
No, I don't think so. I think we saw the ceiling with Aaron Rodgers last year, and it's not where the Steelers want to go. I think the fans and honestly, I think the team in general has been trying to put together this whoever's available quarterback strategy, and they've been disappointed a number of years in a row. You've moved on from Mike Tomlin. I think that gives you the opening to finally move on from this kind of quarterback strategy of just getting who's available and start to try to develop someone new and take shots with available free agents and in the draft and the quarterbacks you already have on the roster.
And I know people are connecting the dots with McCarthy and Rodgers back to Green Bay, rightfully so. I don't know if that's going to matter at this point. Question number 2, Should Shedeur Sanders still be the starter in Cleveland?
Yeah, I think he should be the starter given what he showed as a rookie. There were some low lows and there were some high highs. There's a little bit of promise there. I don't think that they should completely hand the position over to him and not continue to look for available options. The high highs were not that high, but I think he's shown enough that it's worth considering that he's going to continue to develop and be their quarterback answer long term. But I think it's really important to not fully commit to him, but go ahead and bring in some other options if there are some available. I know they have 2 first-round picks that they could use on the quarterback, or they could bundle to go get another franchise quarterback.
And Dylan Gabriel, they drafted him a year ago. You think they wanted to make that a competition, one that, due to injury, but some decent play out of Shedeur, he ended up winning at the end of the season. Okay, what team does Maxx Crosby turn into an immediate Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I think it's just about all of the ones that are on the doorstep. I really like the 49ers in particular as a team that he could potentially help. I also like the Bears more than anyone else, as I think that they have a defense that's built around having a dominant defensive line, but they don't actually yet have a dominant defensive line. And I think Maxx Crosby being an addition to that team that's already shown that they can get into the playoffs and be competitive with one of the top teams in the Rams. I think adding Maxx Crosby to that improves that defense. They become less reliant on turnovers to have success and start having a more of a stable, consistent down-and-down defense.
Yeah, gentlemen, he is that type of player. He can come in, make an immediate impact, take you from a good defense to a great defense. So having said that, who do you think is the best fit for Crosby?
Well, I got to go with Dallas again, because until you replace someone like Micah Parsons, you're going to be looking. And what Maxx Crosby does is he's going to create opportunities for others, because there's going to be so many double teams that will go his way. So, again, when you're looking at what Dallas has, they're starting with these 2 first-round picks. And, look, we know how great their offense is. They're not going to lose George Pickens. And to Meek's point, this is a team that would be on the doorstep with Maxx Crosby.
And the thing of it is, too, Jerry Jones got so much grief for the Parsons trade a year ago. If he could package that into something like this, I mean, would you agree that this would be a good fit?
Be a great fit, but where wouldn't he be a great fit? I mean, you talk about teams that were in the playoffs this year that could use this. Talk about the Bears. Talk about the Patriots, right? They could use an edge rusher like this. Go back to last year's playoffs and talk about the Washington Commanders, who desperately need a player like this in order to, jumpstart things for them on defense. This is, if the Raiders let it be known at some point this week to the NFL that Maxx Crosby is available in trade, there will be a line out their door, whatever suite, whatever hotel they're staying at next week in Indianapolis at the Combine, for people to talk about potential Maxx Crosby offers. He would be that popular. He would be affordable. He's 28 years old. The acquiring team would have to pay him about $30 million each of the next 2 years. For a high-end pass rusher, you do that in a second.
And look, he is a culture setter, which is great, especially with year one of a new head coach, guys. But knowing how far you are away in that division, reluctantly, if I was them, I would consider it. I would hold an auction to Graz's point, and you're looking at multiple high picks for him.
And speaking of auction, they also hold the #1 overall pick. We believe that's going to be Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana. So would you, Mike T, as our resident GM, say, you know what? Let's dangle that out there and try to acquire a bunch of assets for the top pick.
No, I'm not even answering the call. I am drafting Fernando Mendoza, but John Spytek and Tom Brady, as the stewards of the franchise, have to set the tone and the expectations from day one. I am not necessarily even playing him this year. Look, we're going to get Colton Miller back, a good left tackle. He's been hurt. But this offensive line has a ways to go. We saw it ruin David Carr a generation ago amongst other quarterbacks that struggled early. So get the quarterback when he's available, because you never know what'll happen, even though there's a lot of quarterbacks next year, Matt. But I would draft him, and then I would wait and see about playing him.
Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be open. Like, I'm not like Mike T. I'd take the call, but I think inevitably you will not end up with a deal that's good enough to move off the quarterbacks. It's the most important position. You have an opportunity to fill that. You don't try to get cute. But I do think it's super unrealistic what Mike T is saying, that you could go through a whole season with the #1 overall pick quarterback and not have to play him at any point. This isn't Kansas City with Mahomes coming in that's 13-3. This is the Raiders. They're going to put that quarterback in at some point this season.
Next year's draft class, though, would make me tempted, because I don't think the Raiders are going to be good next year either. So, meanwhile, on planet Earth at a
bar and give them a hard time with your attorneys. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is pretty safe. I mean, I'm not saying I'd do it, but I think it's probably pretty safe.
And Mike T, what good comes out of this? To answer your question,
athlete.
we get a Monday morning topic on Get Up. That's what good comes out of it. On the field, it's early in the NFL offseason, but right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, the team that's taken the most money to win the Super Bowl, the Giants at 65-1. They currently have the 23rd highest odds to win the Lombardi Trophy. And I don't mean this to sound disparaging, Graz, but but why are the Giants so hyped?
I mean, look, Harbaugh, I think people are excited about him. I think people are excited about Jackson Dart. There's talent on the roster. They had 7 of their losses last year were one-score games. They feel like a team that kind of, if things broke the right way, could make some noise. And I think people are looking at, my guess is people are looking at 65-1 thinking, why not? Because the payoff would be good. I don't personally understand, like, going out, doing your job, earning your money, and then spending that on, like, betting the Giants to win the Super Bowl based on what we've seen the last 10 years or so with them. But I can see why Giants fans would be more optimistic than they have been in recent years.
Yeah, and Nick, to be fair, there usually is a team that comes out of nowhere to go on a run the following season. You said it, John Harbaugh, Malik Neighbors, if he comes back healthy, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo. What does this look like for them, for the Giants, in a successful season?
Yeah, I think a Super Bowl is a bit of a stretch. Those teams that come out of nowhere don't often go and win the Super Bowl. They might win the division, and for the Giants, I think success would be having a winning record. I think they had 5 games last year where they had a double-digit lead at some point in the game. Those are games that you hope with better coaching you would put away. The problem is John Harbaugh is the coach that if you're looking at someone who's given up some pretty tough losses and comebacks, he's kind of the guy in the Ravens of the last few years, is the guy that you look at who's done something like that. But I do think that his coaching and the professional way he runs the organization improves the talent that they already have there. They have a great defensive line as a foundation of that defense, and a young quarterback who I assume is going to get better in the offseason.
And we're kind of looking for that. Patriots are kind of the blueprint for that, coming in, first-year coach, second-year quarterback, no really expectation to speak of, Mike T. They go all the way to the Super Bowl. It's kind of the comparison there with the Giants, no?
I don't think so, because I think context is really helpful. This is a team that's won 7 games over the last 2 years. If they win 6 or 7 this year, that's double from a year ago. John Harbaugh could be coach of the year. So I think they have a ways to go. If Jackson Dart plays in 17 games, could they maybe sneak into the playoffs? Sure, that's a possibility. But I just think when you think about their secondary, a couple places on their offensive line, there's some fundamental challenges that this roster has. So I think they're going to be marked improvement. But as you said, Matt, they're still the 23rd in terms of odds, 23rd in terms of getting to the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. So I think there's meaningful progress, but a long way to go.
And the other thing you do in the offseason, we play this game all the time when you look at the 2026 schedule.
Yes.
We sit there and go, win, loss, win. Look at their schedule. Is that favorable in any way, Graz?
No, it is not. It might be more favorable than last year's, but that's not saying much. And again, look, from this distance, we don't know if the same teams that were good this year are going to be good again next year. But those look like tough road games at Seattle, at the Rams, at the Texans, at the Lions, even at the Colts, who were a hot team at one point this season if Daniel Jones is back healthy. So, no, it's going to be difficult. Look, I think what the Patriots just did is part of what's giving the Giants fans, Giants bettors hope, because the Patriots had only won 8 games over the last 2 years before this year. But the Patriots did not have a gauntlet of a schedule like we just saw on that screen there for the Giants. So I do think people should temper expectations a little bit.
Nick, back to Harbaugh for a second, because you had mentioned sometimes in close games or he gives up leads and loses games that he shouldn't, but you're bringing in a successful Super Bowl winning coach. You can't just find them anywhere. The Harbaugh effect has to have a little bit of a factor here with a young team that's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, I mean, the other side of that is you've had a lot of big leads in order to give them up, and there are more games that they held onto those leads that they didn't. The Giants do not have that in their recent history of having a lot of big leads or holding on to those leads. They also haven't really had a quarterback that is as exciting and promising as the one that they have right now. I think what we saw from John Harbaugh is the ability to have success and win with two different styles of quarterback over his career, and I think that you could do the same thing with Jackson Dart. It should be really encouraging what they've done. He's going to manage that team well and bring in good coaches for both sides of the ball that he can manage also. So I think it's promising. It looks better for that very, very difficult division for them to have success, better than it has in a long time.
I would like to think Harbaugh wouldn't have let the Broncos game go. I would like to think.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope. I mean, but again, to Dominique's point, like Harbaugh's Ravens team's kind of famous for blowing fourth quarter leads. Yeah.
All right, so Graz isn't throwing his paycheck on that 65-1. Lesson learned on that.